was stacking blueprints while they posted signs. They was begging for a break, I was breaking the mold. Now I cash rent checks while my story gets told. No money millionaire. No money millionaire.
Hey everybody, it's your No Money Millionaire, and I'm here to tell you how I got my first no money deal. It was back in the 90s, maybe 97, maybe 1998, somewhere in there, and I was going to visit my father. And when I got there, he told me that he was planning to sell the house. And I said, well, I want to buy it. And he said, how the hell are you going to buy the house? Because he knew at the time I didn't have a job, I didn't have any money, and I definitely didn't have any good credit. So I told him, yeah, I'm going to buy it. He said, okay. So he was asking $80,000 for it. But he told me if I buy it, he'd sell it to me for $60,000. So I went on a mission. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and I had to figure it out. So I started getting on the phone. Back then, it was the yellow pages. So I was going through the yellow pages, and I'm calling one lender after the next. And I'm calling them, and they're laughing at me. And they're saying, do you have credit? Do you have a down payment? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't have either of them. And so they would just absolutely just laugh at me right over the telephone. And so I just didn't let that deter me. I just stayed determined, and I knew somehow I'm going to make this happen. And so I kept calling, and I kept calling, and I kept calling, one after the next, one after the next, one after the next. And I found somebody. And this guy, he said he specialized in creative financing. And at the time, I never heard of it. I didn't know what that meant. But I knew I had somebody that was willing to work with me to try to figure out how I was going to buy this house. And so that's all I needed. And he said, okay, let's break it down. He said, you're going to need two things. You need a down payment, and you need credit. So how can we make this work? So I left there, and I said, I'm going to go find how I'm going to get the credit. And he said, all right, we'll work on the down payment after. So I went to my brother, and I said, I want to buy Dad's house, but I need you to come on the loan for the credit aspect. And we could be partners in owning the home. And he didn't really even pay any attention to me, and he just said, sure, whatever. And I found out later that he never thought I could do it. That's why he said yes. And so I went back to the lender, and I said, all right, my brother's going to come on with the credit. So now what do we do for the down payment? And so he said, and this was unheard of at the time. Nobody had ever heard of this. And he said, well, since it's your father, and he owns his house free and clear, he's got a lot of equity built up in his home. He said he can gift you that equity. And you can use that equity then as your down payment. So I said, all right. So I went back to my dad, and I explained all that to my dad. My dad said, yeah, that's fine. And then I had decided that we were going to still go off the $80,000 that my dad had originally said he was going to sell it for. And so that way I could pay my dad his $60,000, and then I get $20,000. And I told my brother I'll split that with my brother. He's still not thinking that this would happen. He would say, okay, whatever. So came closing day, and we're at closing. My father gifted the equity. My brother came to the table with the credit, and we walked away with $10,000 each. I split it with my brother, and a home. So now let me recap what I did here. I went into a deal with no job, no credit, and no money. And I walked out that afternoon with a home and $10,000 in my pocket. So yes, this was with my family. I had my father and I had my brother. But these are still deals that I'm working out and doing today, just not with my family. And that's what makes me a no money millionaire. And this is what I'm going to explain more of in my upcoming episode of Legacy Makers that's going to be coming out this fall.
no excuses, no limits. We here. Raised by the code, no cut, no slack. Never asked for permission, I just took it back. No cosigns, no pass, no safety net. I was built for the war and I'm winning the bet. Now I flip keys, not for doors but for deeds. Multiply hustle, automate needs. Legacy mindset, boss from the gate. Now mom who they call when they need that plate. No money millionaire, let's go. No money millionaire. Stand up, no handouts, no fear in here. No money, no excuses, no limits. Clear.